Now you listen to me. You're probably expecting some tearful confession or a righteous tirade. But I'm done with that. I won't waste your time or mine on pity or explanations. Here's how it is. I never asked for your sympathy. I never asked for any second chances, and I'm not giving one myself. Not anymore. I pressed the power button on my old television earlier this evening. Just a flick of the remote, a casual attempt at background noise to occupy my mind, while I sorted through a stack of bills on the coffee table. The screen came on to one of those late local segments, the type that tries desperately to fill airtime after the prime news is over. And there she was, my wife, or the woman who used to be my wife, giving some short interview for a business expo in downtown Denver, her hair in a neat wave around her face, her eyes shining with the sort of smile I hadn't seen in a long time. The camera panned in a little too close, and I saw that familiar curve of her cheek, the same shape I used to kiss on our better nights. The mic in her hand wobbled as she laughed politely at whatever question they asked. I stared at the screen, unblinking. A calm voice in my head said, "She's not yours anymore." I let out a low grunt. Then, with that distant, numb feeling that's become my constant companion, I paused. Turned up the volume. Listened as if I were outside my body. She spoke about community involvement, office culture, a new local partnership, some official-sounding nonsense. The segment ended, and my hand hovered over the remote. But I didn't turn off the TV just yet. I sat there, ironically transfixed, recalling every reason I'd left. Every time I see her face, something cracks open inside me. But I'm done turning away. There's only so much a man can run from before he decides it's time to face the full force of it, however it tastes. I guess you're wondering how we got here. How I ended up alone in this cramped apartment on the edge of downtown, with a sagging couch and a flickering lamp that's about to short out. Well, the short version is, I hired a private detective to track down some stolen documents related to a business deal. He delivered something else entirely. A simple, silent video file. No dramatic music, no disclaimers, just raw footage of her. Of them. The wife I loved and the man she chose. A stolen moment that was never meant for my eyes, courtesy of a misinstalled security camera in an office building. The detective wanted to show me everything, to be thorough, he said. And he was, more thorough than I could stomach. The day he brought me that footage, I felt two distinct sensations. First, the immediate burn of betrayal, a numb explosion behind my eyes that turned my guts sour. And second, a strange relief. I'd had suspicions, you see. I'd sensed a distance in her for months, felt the half-hearted kisses and the forced small talk over dinner. Yet I couldn't imagine it all spelled out so clearly. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's slow it down. That day, I was in my office, white fluorescent light buzzing overhead, the smell of stale coffee lingering as always. My phone lit up with a text. I have something. Need to show you. Urgent. The detective's name was Bird. Like the bird, spelled B-Y-R-D. I found him through a colleague's recommendation. He was supposed to be a wizard at retrieving stolen assets or lost paperwork. Little did I know what else he'd be retrieving. I met him at a diner near my workplace. The place smelled of frying bacon and that thick layer of oil on an old grill. Bird was waiting in a booth, a laptop perched on the sticky tabletop. I remember him nodding at me, offering a curt hello, then pointing at the screen. No small talk, no asking if I wanted coffee. He just clicked play. It was a security camera feed, pointed at a corner of some generic office space. I saw a desk, some filing cabinets, a small couch in the background. The color was a little washed out, the angle skewed as if someone had installed it incorrectly. I squinted, unsure what I was supposed to be looking at. Then I saw the door open, and in walked Tony Morales. Yes, I know him by name now, but in that moment he was just a tall figure with a confident stride. I recognized him vaguely from some gatherings my wife used to mention. An architect with ambition, a rising star. Next came Rachel. My Rachel, or so I still foolishly believed at the time. She stepped inside in that classy blouse I'd once bought her for our anniversary. Watching her cross that office in the video, I felt the reality sink in. They were alone, and the atmosphere was thick. This wasn't a business meeting. They stood close. Too close. The camera angle didn't lie. He reached out, brushed a hand over her hair, and she angled her head up toward him. I saw her lips move. Maybe she said his name. Maybe she said something else. My chest felt tight as I saw him kiss her, just a peck at first. Then she leaned in. The next minutes blurred together, but I caught enough to know it wasn't just a slip of the moment. It was a raw physical hunger, the kind that told me this was far from their first time. The two of them pressed against the desk, Rachel's hands threading through his hair, his fingers running along her waist, hitching up her blouse. At that, I practically tasted bile. I know you might be thinking, why didn't I snap or make a scene right there in the diner? But all my emotions pooled somewhere deep in my chest. I was motionless, transfixed by what I saw, stunned into silence. The only outward sign of my anger was my hand gripping the edge of the booth so hard my knuckles turned white. My breath was slow and shallow, controlled. Bird didn't say a word. He just waited. When the video ended, he quietly closed the laptop. "I'm sorry," he said. I only nodded, biting down the urge to ask him to replay it. What would that solve? I'd seen enough. I told him to send me the file and keep quiet. He seemed relieved that I wasn't about to flip the table in rage. But inside, a thunderstorm of fury and heartbreak rage. You might say that's when a part of me died. I remember leaving the diner, the smell of burnt coffee lingering on my clothes. The afternoon sun was too bright, my eyes stinging from more than just the light. My mind spun with 1,000 questions. Why wasn't I enough? What did he have that I didn't? Was it the ring I got for her, the second-rate one from a pawn shop? Maybe she wanted something bigger, flashier, or maybe it wasn't about money at all. Maybe she just wanted that spark, that thrill she once found in me, but was now busy seeking in someone else's arms. I drove home in a trance, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the road. And yet part of me felt calm, like I was already stepping away from the drama. By the time I pulled up to our driveway, I had a plan forming. No sense in raging or begging. That was a younger man's response. Instead, I'd gather my things, sever the ties, and vanish. No calls, no angry texts, no screaming accusations. Just out. She could have him. Maybe that was my black-humored little gift to them both. But first, I needed proof of my own. I wanted her to see that I knew. More than that, I wanted her to see herself, the woman she'd become. You might say that's petty or vindictive. I don't dispute that. Minding the moral high ground is a luxury for the unscathed. I set up my laptop in the living room later that night, waiting. She came home around 7, offered me a tired smile. "Hey, how was your day?" she asked, dropping her purse on the couch. She sounded distracted, eyes flicking around the room, as if searching for something. Was she looking for guilt in my expression? Or maybe she was just worried the dog needed feeding. We didn't have a dog, though. We never did. She was the one who said an animal would tie us down. I told her my day was fine. She nodded, sat down, rubbed her temples. "I'm exhausted. We had a meeting that ran forever," she mumbled. I just watched her, not speaking, not letting my voice betray me. Then I slid the laptop across the coffee table. My face was blank as I pressed play. She looked at the screen. Then confusion turned to horror, plain as day. She recognized the office, the angle. She tried to stand, but her knees seemed to buckle. On the screen, Tony was kissing her, hands exploring her body, shadows flickering under the desk lamp. I pressed pause at the moment she moaned his name. The sudden silence hung between us. I said nothing, just stared. She was pale, lips parted, her breathing ragged. "Jack, please," she whispered, her voice trembling. That's when my bitterness rose like a wave, threatening to drown me. But I stayed quiet, letting her mind race with the implications. My own brand of revenge, I guess. I was calmer than I'd ever been, which scared me in a twisted way. She started to speak. It's not what it looks like. I cut her off. Don't insult me. I'm not a fool. She bit her lip. A few seconds of silence stretched on, long enough for me to notice the hum of the refrigerator in the next room, the ticking of the wall clock. Why? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Why wasn't I enough? She tried to answer, but words failed her. She only shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. I never meant for it to go so far, she finally said. We just... Her voice cracked. She took a shaky breath. He made me feel... I don't know. You don't know, I repeated, letting out a hollow laugh. I guess that's an answer. The entire house felt heavier than usual, pressing down on us. I glanced at the ring on her finger, the cheap little pawn shop ring I'd been so proud of. I'd paid it off in installments, working extra hours, wanting to give her something special at a time when we didn't have much. And now, it looked more like a symbol of my own gullibility, a mocking testament to how I believed in us. In that bleak hush, I found a twisted bit of humor. The big romantic gesture had turned into a joke, so I let out a rough chuckle. Her eyes snapped up, startled by that sound. She reached for my hand. Jack, I pulled away. Don't. I stood, stepped back, and felt oddly detached as if I were floating. We're done. All your things. Everything here. Keep what you want. I'm leaving. I'll figure out a new place. I tried to force out the words that might sound normal in such a conversation. But there's no normal way to handle your wife's betrayal. My mind was already skipping to the next step. Vanish. She started to sob softly, burying her face in her hands. I watched her for a moment, remembering how that same cry would once have gutted me. Now it just made me cold. I guess that's how betrayal works. It kills something fundamental inside you. That night, I packed a bag with the bare essentials. A couple shirts, underwear, socks, shaving kit. It wasn't complicated. Our bedroom, our bed. It felt like a stranger's place. The pictures on the walls mocked me. Our wedding photo. Our first Christmas. I wanted to rip them all down and shatter the frames. But I didn't. I just tossed the ring, my ring, on the dresser as a final statement. Then I left. I spent the night in my car, parked in some lonely corner near an old industrial zone. The silence was suffocating, but at the same time, I embraced it like a wounded animal licking its wounds in private. The next day, I called a realtor friend of mine who arranged a small apartment on short notice. It was a crappy building with peeling paint and creaky plumbing, but it was a place of my own, untainted by memories. I wish I could tell you that it was easy to move on, but that'd be a lie. Anger came first, raw and pulsing, powering me through that first week. Next came the numbness, which set in like a constant dull ache in my chest. I tried to drown it in work, burying myself in campaigns and brand strategies, but that only made me more aware of how empty my personal life had become. I disconnected my phone, wiped my social media accounts clean, changed my name there to something meaningless. I didn't want any reminders. People texted me, emailed me. I ignored it all. A few coworkers asked if I was okay. I muttered something about family emergencies, kept it vague. As for Rachel, I don't know how many times she tried to reach out. I never checked. The final conversation we'd had, the look on her face as the video paused at that damned moment, was enough for me. The detective, Bird, kept quiet. He'd done his job. I paid him, gave him a tip, told him to lose my number. He gave me one last look of concern and left it at that. Maybe he'd seen it all before. Maybe not. But it didn't matter anymore. In that new apartment, I clung to a routine. Wake up, jog around the block before sunrise to avoid bumping into neighbors, shower in a cramped bathroom. Grab a black coffee on the way to the office. Work until after dark. Go home. Repeat. The weekends were trickier, with too much free time. That's when I'd lie on the squeaky mattress, staring at the water stain on the ceiling, letting my mind spiral. How had I become a guy living in a shoebox apartment, with a single folding chair for furniture? I answered my own question with a wry smirk. You hired a private detective. You discovered your wife's affair, he left. Simple as that. Sometimes I'd turn on the TV just to hear human voices, not expecting to see her again. But occasionally, her face popped up in local coverage or corporate ads from her new company. I noticed how the camera loved her. She always had that certain poise, that hint of a confident smile. And on nights like this one, tonight, I'd watch her face on the screen. My chest would tighten, but no tears came. Not after the first week. Maybe my tear ducts just gave up. Why do I keep watching? Maybe it's a form of self-punishment, or maybe it's a reminder. Don't let yourself trust blindly again. Don't open that door to illusions. I bet you're thinking I'm letting her off easy, that I should have unleashed some grand revenge. The thought crossed my mind. But you see, revenge is never about paying the other person back. It's about letting go of the hold they have over you, so you can walk away truly free. In my twisted sense of humor, my revenge was making sure she saw the evidence of her own betrayal, then leaving her with the wreckage. No closure, no chance to apologize, no big confrontation scene with me flipping over the kitchen table or smashing the TV. Just a clean break. That's all I wanted. But you can't outrun the ghosts. They chase you into every empty room, echoing in your head. Why wasn't I enough? That question still gnaws at me. The memory of that ring, the glint of it on her finger as she moaned another man's name. The camera angle capturing it all. One evening, about a month after I left, I got an unexpected call from an unknown number on my new phone. I answered out of habit. Jack. The voice was male, tense. I recognized it. Tony. You've got nerve calling me, I said, my voice ice cold. He breathed into the phone. Look, man. Look, it's complicated, okay? I didn't mean for any of this to blow up like it did. I almost laughed at the stupidity of that statement. Then why do it? He fell silent. Don't bother, I muttered. I'm not looking for an explanation. Goodbye. I hung up, blocked the number. My blood pounded, my jaw clenched. And yet, in that moment, I felt an odd sense of power. He was reaching out, trying to do. What? Apologize? To smooth things over so he could feel less guilty about betting another man's wife. The black humor rose again. I found myself chuckling in the stale air of my apartment. Rachel never called me directly after that. Maybe she lost her courage. Maybe she realized there was no point. So the weeks passed, slowly turning into months. I discovered new coping mechanisms. A late-night walk, an occasional bottle of whiskey, scribbling random notes in a journal to vent. Once, I even put on an old t-shirt she'd left behind just to see if her scent remained. It didn't. Only the faint odor of laundry detergent. I felt foolish and tossed it in the trash. Work droned on. The dull life of an advertising manager. I'd get up, pitch marketing strategies, have lunch with coworkers who didn't know a damn thing about my personal life, then return to the apartment, day after day. Maybe that's how I tried to kill the pain, through monotony, a self-imposed dullness. Then, just as I thought the worst was behind me, Bird reached out again. I almost deleted his message, but something compelled me to read it. Might have found your missing documents from that old job fiasco, he wrote. We should talk. I didn't really care about the documents anymore. It all felt so irrelevant now. But I agreed to meet him. We sat in another diner. Not the same as before, but similar. Cheap coffee, vinyl seats, the stench of fried eggs. He showed me a folder with some recovered files. These the ones you wanted? I shrugged. Probably. Thank you. He nodded, hesitated. How are you holding up? Fine, I said curtly. You look thinner, he remarked. I suppose that's normal. I suppose, I echoed, a trace of sarcasm in my voice. He seemed to study me for a moment, then slid the folder across. I won't keep you, just wanted to settle that piece of business. I took it, feeling obligated to say something more. Look, about that video. He waved a hand. I've seen worse. Doing this line of work, well, it rarely ends well for anyone. He paused, then offered a small, almost fatherly nod. Take care of yourself. Sure. I left him there, not even finishing my coffee. A few days later, I got another call. Unknown number. This time, I almost didn't pick up. But I did. Jack? The voice was female, gentle. It wasn't Rachel. It was her mother. I swallowed. Yes. There was a pause. Heard from Rachel that you left. She doesn't talk much about it, but I had to ask how you're doing. My hand tightened around the phone. Fine. She inhaled, clearly uncomfortable. You were good to her. You know that, right? Whatever happened, I just want you to know you were good to her. My laugh came out as a bitter bark. Not good enough. Apparently. The older woman sighed on the other end. People make mistakes. She's miserable right now. Is that supposed to help me? Silence. Then, quietly, I don't know. I just don't want you to vanish, Jack. No matter what happened. You're family to us. Not anymore, I said, and ended the call. Time crawled. The sadness dimmed but never truly vanished. I found that the simplest things triggered me. A photo of a smiling couple on a billboard, or the faint whiff of her perfume, if someone walked past wearing something similar. Each time, I forced a black-humored grin onto my face, telling myself it was all a cosmic joke. Good one, universe, you got me. Then I'd move on. The ring. That worthless band of metal I once cherished. I had an idea one day to retrieve it from the old house, purely as a symbolic final step. So I texted Rachel, told her I'd be dropping by to collect something of mine. She asked if we could talk. I ignored that request, said simply, just let me in for 5 minutes. When I arrived at our old place, I hardly recognized the yard. The flowers were wilted, the grass needed mowing. She opened the door, looking thinner, with circles under her eyes. I gave her a curt nod, stepped inside. The smell reminded me of times gone by. Her cooking, scented candles we used to light. But I didn't let the memories take hold. She gestured to the bedroom, as if she knew exactly why I'd come. I stepped in, scanning the surfaces. I saw that she hadn't changed much. Our wedding photo was still on the dresser, and beside it, resting in a small porcelain dish, was the ring. I walked over, picked it up. My old friend. I felt her presence in the doorway behind me. Jack, she said softly, I know you never want to speak to me again, but I can't live with myself if I don't at least try to explain. I turned, meeting her eyes. Explain what, Rachel? That you felt bored. That he made you feel alive. That you thought I'd never find out. She flinched. Yes. No. I mean, yes, I was bored. We were drifting. And he just offered me attention, something fresh. I knew it was wrong. But I did it anyway. And there's no excuse for that. I closed my hand around the ring, the edges biting into my palm. So you want forgiveness, she swallowed. I don't know. I want you to stop punishing yourself. Stop letting me haunt you. A dark laugh escaped me. What makes you think I'm punishing myself? She searched my face. I can see it. You're not the man you were. It's eating you up. Don't worry about me, I said, slipping the ring into my pocket. Then I brushed past her, heading for the door. She followed, voice trembling. Please, it doesn't have to end in hatred. I paused in the hallway, turning slightly to meet her gaze. Hatred. That would require more energy than I have to spare. I don't hate you, Rachel. I just don't care enough to keep you in my life. Her face crumpled. She didn't cry, but I could see the tears threatening. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know," I said. "Doesn't fix anything." With that, I left. I don't think she expected me to be so matter-of-fact. Maybe she was hoping for a meltdown, or a final confrontation that would let her shed tears and feel absolved. Instead, she got the hollow shell of the man she destroyed. I drove away with the ring in my pocket, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned pale. At a red light, I pulled the ring out, stared at it for a good few seconds, and felt a surge of adrenaline. I rolled down the window, flicked it into the street, and drove on, freed of the last symbol of that betrayal. And yeah, maybe that's a bit dramatic. But sometimes a man needs to do something dramatic to prove to himself he's still alive. You might wonder, was that the end? Almost, but not quite. I still had a final card to play. Bird had left me with a curious sense that sometimes exposure is the best kind of revenge. Let the world see the truth. In a black-humored mood, I considered sending the footage of their little tryst to Tony's boss or colleagues. But that could land me in murky legal waters. Not to mention, it would cast me as the bitter ex. Did I really want to stoop to that level? I decided instead on a simpler move. I took a still screenshot from the video. Rachel's face turned up to him, eyes closed, lips parted. It was unmistakable. Then I created a new social media account, an anonymous one, posted that photo with a cryptic caption. "Not everything is what it seems." I didn't tag anyone, didn't direct it anywhere specific. Maybe it would fade into the digital void, or maybe it would find its way around. I didn't care. I just wanted that single moment to exist in the public realm, out of my hands, like letting a bird go free. A day later, I deleted the account. The post might have stayed or might have been removed. I'll never know, but I'd done what I did, and it felt enough. Because revenge isn't about permanent damage. It's about closure, about giving yourself a way to say, "I have no regrets," or at least, "I can live with the cost." Life trudged on. The job demanded my attention, and I gave it. I began going to the gym, as if I could sweat the poison out of my system. On those weight benches, I pictured Tony's face each time I lifted. I pictured Rachel's face too, twisted with guilt and sorrow, and I drew strength from it. Was that healthy? Probably not. But I survived. I found a new center in that dark place. Weeks turned to months. I started feeling a flicker of something like acceptance. That's when Tony reached out again. This time, it was an email. He must have gotten my new address from a mutual acquaintance. The subject line read simply, "We need to talk." Normally, I'd delete it, but my finger hovered. Curiosity got the better of me, so I opened it. He wrote a surprisingly short message. "Hey Jack, I know you won't want to hear me out, but I can't keep going like this. Rachel left me. She says she's working on herself, can't see me anymore. I guess we both lost. I feel like everything's caving in. Just want to talk man to man, if you'll allow it. T." My chest tightened with a grim satisfaction. So that's how the dice rolled for them. But talk, man to man. Why the hell would I do that? I closed the email. Didn't respond. Left him to his own unraveling. After that, I never heard from him again. Rachel, I assume, tried to find her way. I occasionally saw her face on those local TV segments or a random online article. I noticed her ring finger was bare. She looked more reserved, subdued. Maybe guilt shapes people that way. Maybe heartbreak does. Either way, I felt something faint inside me. Pity, maybe, or a distant admiration. She'd chosen a different path, but it led her to regret. I guess we all have regrets. One evening, though, an odd twist occurred. I was out for a run in the city park, just around dusk, and I spotted her across the pond. She was sitting on a bench, looking at the water. I froze in place, heart pounding. Part of me wanted to turn around and vanish. Another part of me wondered what would happen if we talked. She didn't see me. She was lost in thought, shoulders hunched. A slight breeze ruffled her hair. I stood there, just watching her from a distance. My mind replayed all the ways she'd wronged me, all the times we were happy, all the nights we clung to each other, believing we'd stand strong forever. A black chuckle rumbled in my chest. I thought, this is where it all ends, the lonely ex-husband staring at his former wife in the twilight of a city park. I took one hesitant step forward. Then I stopped. What was the point? I turned and jogged away, leaving her alone with her thoughts. That was my final goodbye. Unspoken but real. What about the ring? That worthless scrap of metal was lost somewhere under city traffic, scratched and scuffed beyond recognition. I like to imagine it's been run over so many times, it's become just another piece of street debris, battered into oblivion. Kind of fitting. Some nights, I still dream of her. Not in a longing sense, more like a final echo of the life we shared. I wake up feeling empty, cold sweat on my forehead. Then I remember. We had our time, and now it's gone. And the only thing left is to keep moving. Because that's what you do when there's nowhere to go but forward. What you expected me to say, I found new love, redemption, happiness. That might come later, or it might not. This is real life, not a fairy tale. Right now, I just exist. I go to work, I pay rent, I do my laundry. Sometimes I laugh at jokes with my coworkers. Occasionally, I flirt half-heartedly with women I meet, but I haven't let myself get close to anyone. Not yet. Perhaps one day I will, when the bitterness finally loosens its grip. But for now, I'm just living on autopilot, letting the days roll by, quietly rebuilding the pieces of who I used to be. Now you're probably waiting for the punchline, the moral. If there is one, maybe it's this. Men like me, we give and we trust, and we break. Then we have a choice, stay broken or find a new shape. I'm still deciding. But at least I don't belong to her betrayal anymore. Mending your heart can be slow work, but it's the only true revenge that matters. Walking away free. Letting the pain burn off until you can breathe without that damn ache in your lungs. It might take a year, or 10, or forever. But it's mine to bear, and no one else's. A man stands alone in the end, and that has to be enough. If you were hoping for me to say I regret discovering the truth, I can't. I regret being blind for so long, sure. But that detective did me a favor. Knowledge is a bullet, but ignorance is the slow poison. At least I took that bullet head on. It dropped me to my knees for a while. But I got up. I'm still on my feet, even if they sometimes feel unsteady. And that's it. That's my story. Rachel's gone. Tony's probably cursing himself somewhere. I live here, in this barely furnished apartment, the place I chose to bury my old life. There's no big finale with fireworks or redemption arcs, just the quiet hush of an ending that leaves me free, in my own bitter, black-humored way. So now you listen to me. Like I said, I don't want pity or understanding, and I'm certainly not asking for forgiveness for anything I've done in response. I simply want to be heard, just once. Let my words stand as a warning, or maybe a testament to what betrayal does to a man. Because for all our illusions of control, we never see it coming, not really. But once you do see it, there's no going back. You let the silence speak. You let the illusions crumble. And then you do what you must, to reclaim whatever scraps of yourself remain. I chose to walk away and never look back. That's my brand of vengeance. Leaving them to dwell in their own ruin, letting their guilt twist and ache. Meanwhile, I go on living, day by day, with a heart that's scared but still beating. That's the final truth. That's what I get to carry with me, even if it's heavy. And maybe, just maybe, that weight will lighten. Maybe one day I'll drop it entirely. But for now, I'm content to hold it, to remind myself I survived. And survival, in a world like this, is its own kind of victory.